Welcome back, everybody, to another video in the Best Chess Game series. Today, I am covering Vidit Gujrathi. Vidit is one of the strongest grandmasters in all of India. He's beloved primarily because of his chess, but also because of his online presence. He's pretty active on social media. He streams on YouTube. I have a video where I played him in Title Tuesday. And one of the best games that he's ever played, if not the best game that he's ever played, personally, I'm making the case for this game, is the game where he had the white pieces versus Vladimir Kramnik. Kramnik was, of course, the world champion, and he defeated Kasparov, the mighty Kasparov, and ended that reign in the year 2000. So anytime you have Kramnik involved, we're going to pay attention. Now, this game began with d4, and before we go any further, this game was played in 2019 in the Tata Steel. That's the tournament in Vikensee in the Netherlands. Kramnik begins with e6, knight c3, bishop b4. This is a Nimso-Indian defense. White wants to take a full big boy center with e4, and black plays bishop to b4, pinning the knight to the king. Now, white here plays f3, which is a very confrontational move. And the point is that you want to play e4. You're not going to take no for an answer. At the same time, you're willing to take a temporary sacrifice to your dark squares, and you're not going to put your knight on the standard square of f3. Black responds by playing d5 and saying, no, listen, I'm serious, you're not going to be able to play this move. But when you play the same-ish, you also have to combine it with a3. And here he gives black the choice of taking on c3 or going back to e7. The reason for going back to e7 and not taking would be like, okay, well, come forward, and then I'm going to play e5 and try to damage your structure here in the center of the board. But Kramnik plays principled, he takes, and plays the move c5. This is considered the main line. And actually, this kind of way of playing forces white to take, well, not to take, but to at least play this next move, which is the move e3. And you would say, well, this just looks garbage for white. I mean, why would white ever do this? White's got all these awkward pawns. I thought the whole point of playing f3 was to go e4. Yes and no. The argument here is that white has at least gotten the two bishops. And now white will slow play the position. So, for example, if black castles, white will play bishop to d3, knight to e2 and castle, and very, very slowly build up the center. And then, once your king is safe and your center is open, the benefit is that you've gotten the two bishops. And to be honest, as ugly as this looks, it's okay. It's kind of like me. You don't have any obvious weaknesses. I mean, this rook can't really get in by itself. None of these squares can really be occupied, so it doesn't look very good, but somehow it does the job. Much like your favorite chess YouTuber. So in this position, black actually played the move c4. So Kramnik locks the center and disallows this very natural move, bishop to d3. So instead, Vidit plays knight to e2, black plays knight c6, and you would say, well, how the heck is Vidit going to play now? I mean, all of his pieces are kind of blocked up. I don't understand. Is he going to play knight g3 and then try to play e4? Knight g3 actually looks very logical. The problem with that move is black can lash out with h5. And, you got nothing else except h4. Because if you try to play in the center now, I just go here, and it's a very wacky game, but it's going to work for black. So Vidit, like any normal human being, pushes yet another pawn and plays g4. Which, I mean, listen, of course I have to feature a Vidit game if this is gonna be how he plays. I mean, Vidit is not afraid. He is making this a massively complicated middle game, plays g4 in order to develop his bishop this way. That's exactly what he does. Meanwhile, we see Kramnik sneaking in through the queen side and landing his knight on b3. But this multiple move maneuver, oh my god, try to say that 5 times fast, multiple move maneuver by Kramnik results in not too much progress made on the queen side. I mean, he moves his knight several times, but is he actually going to take the bishop on c1? I mean, on the one hand, moving a knight like 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then getting rid of it for a bishop that didn't move doesn't make much sense. On the other hand, you're going to destabilize white's center. So Vidit plays, is he going to move his bishop out of the way? No, he's like, come and take it. Now Kramnik plays b5, locking down and clamping down on the queen side. Now b5, it looks like a good move, obviously nothing wrong with it, and still white is not really able to make too much progress. Like, why is Vidit not playing this, for example? Well, because black just goes here. Yeah, but then you go here and this knight can't move. Yeah, but neither can you. Like, black can't move, but you really can't move. And I'm just going to come and get this pawn, right? So white doesn't want to overextend his pawn structure in the wrong way, and for that reason plays the move e4. e4 would have made a lot less sense if black hadn't played the move b5, so it's a good move by Vidit. he sees that long term there's going to be tactics on that open rook, whereas a couple moves ago, the light squared bishop, if the board opened up, did not have that possibility. So he plays e4, takes, and you would think, well, this is kind of dumb. I mean, he just hung a pawn two different ways, just knight takes g4. The problem is that after just very simple h3, Kramnik doesn't have anywhere convenient to put his knight. If he puts it back to f6, now Vidit plays the bishop out, and all of a sudden this bishop, which was stuck behind all the pawns, comes alive. And between the combined threats of e5, this rook, this knight, and maybe even the knight and the queen getting out that way, for the cost of one pawn, this position is completely fine for white, if not just very clearly better. We also have to not forget about the fact that this knight on b3 is terrible. Like, that knight came in with the intention of taking something. Now it didn't take anything. Now it's just kind of like, crap, what do I do here? I got nothing I can do. So, e4 is a great move. So Kramnik takes, and says, you know what? I gotta take this bishop. Otherwise, this bishop is just going to get activated. But now there's another drawback. Remember that pawn push that you made? You did not make that pawn push with the intention to take the bishop. Because now, white just has a new target. Right? Like, white just has a new target, which white did not have a move ago. And white is threatening to push, So Kramnik plays bishop takes g4, attacking the knight. Now, very simple chess here from Vidit. The knight is hanging, so activate it further. And rook b5 is still a threat, and e5 is still a threat. So Kramnik plays rook b8. That move stops both e5 and rook takes pawn. Now Vidit plays the move h3. Another very good move. This is like 4 or 5 moves in a row that Vidit is playing all the best moves. And the bishop now retreats. So this is move 19. And Vidit plays e5, knight e8. I should say move 20. Knight had only one move. Who is better here and why? How do you evaluate? Well, obviously both of these players have watched the video during the game. They didn't watch the video during the game. I'm saying during the game, they already came in with the knowledge of the video that was recorded in 2021 by GothamChess called 4 Ways to Evaluate Any Chess Position. Please don't get offended. That is a joke. Some people get very offended at my jokes. White is better. Black is up a pawn, which is the first measure of who is better in any given chess position. But white has a safer king, white has much more activity, and white has a better pawn structure and more space. So white is winning in 3 of those categories. The only thing that white doesn't have is an extra pawn. You say, how's white's king safer? Look at all these weaknesses. You can't think in such an abstract way. Just because this king is only kind of touchable on the h8 square, and all these pawns are like there, whereas I have all this open space, all of black's pieces are on the back rank, with the exception of this bishop. So now Vidit plays queen e3, activating another piece, and he's got intentions to go over here. Kramnik plays rook b6. The idea of rook b6 is that he will patrol the 6th rank, and in the future, if the queen ever makes it here, maybe Kramnik will play rook g6 and kind of counterattack. So that is his idea. So maybe play rook here, somehow trade the knight off, etc. After rook b6, another best move played by Vidit. You are more than welcome to try to find it. Pause here if you'd like. Vidit, in the middle of all this, just finds the best move d5. Why? Because this activates the queen, pressuring there and there. And now you're threatening to play e6 and shut down that entire plan. Also, if your queen ever lands on c5, it pressures the rook, the pawn, the rook, the pawn, and this pawn, and escorts the pawns, like, you know, to school safely. So black plays knight to c7 to try to get out of the pressure. Vidit plays d6, allowing the knight forward, but securing the other square for his knight on d5. Kramnik plays rook a6, and there is a new target. And this maneuver by Kramnik disallows queen to c5. Vidit doesn't care. He says, Vlad, I understand you were the world champion at some point. I understand you're probably one of the top 10 players of all time. You would be in some people's top 5. Rook f5. Once again, if you plug this position into the computer and let it think for a little bit, at some point it starts realizing rook to f5 is the only move for white to have any advantage. Why? Why rook f5? Well, you want to double up, right? You want to double up your rooks. But if you play rook f2, you have no lateral movement. So for example, if you play rook f2, you'll never be able to move your bishop and go for the g file. So that's number one. If rook f3, you know, you have lateral movement, but you're not stopping queen to g5. So it's all about my counterplay. I want to trade queens with you. With no queens, Vidit will not get an attack so easily. He might still kind of fight with his rooks, but he would much rather keep his queen on the board. And so, rook f2, queen g5, is a problem. Rook f3, queen g5, there's at least maybe some tactics here with like knight f6 and everything, knight f6 and rook g3, so, you know, maybe queen g5 will not happen right away, but I'm going to play king h8 and then try to play queen g5. So, for that reason, Vidit plays this move. A lot of people would fear a discovered attack, the knight moving and then the rook hit. Nah, Vidit sees through all the nonsense. Kramnik plays queen h4, still trying to lurk around these parts, but now Vidit just plays rook f1. He says flat, like I said, take my pawn. He basically reads the threat and goes, that's not scary. I'm not scared of that. So, rook takes a3, and here we have knight to e7 check, king to h8, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen h5, trying to hit the rook and go for the back rank. But Vidit just plays the absolutely glorious final move. Try to find it. If you're thinking rook f8 mate, you need a smack. But that is the idea. If the knight is protecting the back rank, that means that it cannot move, right? So how do we guard our rook without moving it? If you said queen f2, I don't disagree. But then we have rook a1 check. You might go king h2, and then you're going to get hit with this, which was obviously Kramnik's idea. And because Kramnik was threatening two things, rook a1 and queen e5, Vidit said, okay, queen f4. Putting the queen in the eye of danger, but rook a1 check runs into this, and you cannot do this. And you cannot do this. And you cannot do this. And on queen to f4, a move that literally looks like it hangs a queen, somewhere Eric Rosen would yell, oh no, my queen. Kramnik resigned. What a game by Vidit. I mean, how can you not feature this game? In this tournament, Vidit gained a lot of rating points. According to, I think I looked at the rating chart before I made this video, and I'm just going to double check right now. Yeah, Vidit gained 16 rating points, which is the most rating points that he's gained in like 2 years since this tournament. Like, before, in 2017, he also gained like 16 points. So, one of Vidit's best tournaments. He drew Magnus Carlsen. That game took 130 moves. He lost a couple of games as well. He lost one to Nepo, he lost one to Rajabov, but he beat Kramnik, he beat Mamidyarov, and he beat Jordan van Forest, the up-and-coming next Dutch superstar who recently crossed 2,700. So this was one of Vidit's best tournaments. Before this event, he had dipped just below 2,700, but since this event, he has not gone down ever again. He's now currently 27-26. He hasn't played in a classical tournament in 2020 since February or March, for obvious reasons. But I look forward to seeing him compete in classical once again and getting over 27-30, 40, 50, and who knows, maybe I'll make an update video in the future where he defeats Magnus Carlsen or Fabiano Caruana. So I wanted to honor Vidit as part of the best game series. Haven't made a video of his best game yet. It's always nice when you can beat a world champion. If there's any other players you would like me to cover, please do let me know in the comments below. And if there's a video I haven't made on a concept that you would like covered, let me know about that as well. Welcome back to the returning viewers. Welcome for the first-time viewers. Feel free to browse some of my playlists. I've got courses. Link is in the description to them. And I will see you in the next video.